With me is Willem Leroux. He's of Fines for You. We're talking to him about SANRAL's press release this weekend saying that they will suspend your license if your e-toll fees are not paid. And to hear what they are able to do, we're talking to him. Good morning, Willem.
Good morning, Isak. Thank you for the opportunity to chat with you.
What can SANRAL do?
Isak, to answer that question in short, these are purely scare tactics. SANRAL can actually not, at this point in time, suspend your driving license or your vehicle license at all. The National Road Traffic Act, as well as the Auto Act, does not make provision for a charge code for non-payment of e-tolls at this point in time as it stands. The new regulations published for Auto, which will come into effect, it seems, on 1 July this year, does in fact have charge codes for non-payment of e-toll. On top of that, SANRAL needs to be appointed as an issuing authority before they can actually issue a traffic fine for non-payment of e-toll. And once that traffic fine has went through the process and they followed the correct procedure, will an enforcement order be issued that will block your license. So you will not be able then to renew your license, but up to that point, your license is valid. Your license cannot be revoked. It is only once the demerit point system comes into effect and you've exceeded the maximum number of points that your license, either your driving license or your vehicle license, may be revoked, and that you will then not have a valid license anymore for a specific period of time. So scare tactics, nothing more, nothing less.
Let's say they are able to do what they say they want to do. If they succeed in pushing through new changes to the law, um, how long will it take before they are actually able to do something in the sense that they are saying they can do?
So the act is quite clear, Isak. The Auto Act makes provision for a infringement notice to be issued once an infringement has happened, and there is a specific time frame in which that infringement notice has to be issued to the infringer. So the Act clearly states that there is a 10-day delivery period. So currently it is post office that need to stamp secure mail. There's the Act clearly states that it is deemed that 10 days after post office has accepted it, you have received it. It is deemed that you have received the notice. So you don't have an excuse. I didn't receive it. I didn't sign for it. You have received it. Then on the 10th day, the 32-day payment period starts. In that first 32 days, 50% discount on the auto fine. If you don't pay it within the 32 days, the 50% discount is supposed to fall away. Then RTIA must issue a courtesy letter to remind you that you have a traffic fine, which you pay for. Once again, the 10-day delivery period and the 32-day payment period applies. So now we're sitting on roughly about 64 days after the infringement has taken place, we're at the end of the second 32-day period. Then ARTO or RTIA must issue a enforcement order, and that's the enforcement order that will block your license renewal. So the earliest that your license will be blocked is about 75 days after the infringement. And there is a huge gray area in terms of when the infringement in terms of e-toll will actually take place, because the e-toll Act says if you pass underneath a gantry, they will issue you with an invoice. There is no specification that I know of that says they must issue the invoice within a specified period of time. But let's take general law in consideration and say they're going to issue that within 10 days. Like with Auto, they're going to issue that within 10 days. Then you have 7 days to pay it to get the discount that they provide for. If you don't pay it, then the discount falls away and you have a specific period of time in which to pay the account as it is. If you then don't pay, that account goes to the violation processing center, where they will send you essentially like a summons or a courtesy letter, a reminder to say you have a account. And only then, in my opinion, will it become an infringement because you haven't paid it. So we're talking in total probably about 4 months
Mm.
from the time that you've passed the gantry until the time that
Mm.
you will actually be blocked from getting a license renewal done. But as I say, that's very gray at this point in time. There's
Mm.
no answers. Not even the people at SANRAL and ETC knows exactly how they're going to implement this, and what the timeframes are going to be for implementation of that.
The question is, do they have the means for this extra administrative uh, task upon them?
I don't think so. To give you an example, we have a motor dealer in Johannesburg that asked us to assist them with their e-tail account. Now, their e-tail account it's a VPC account because it's vehicles that are sold. They sell pre-owned vehicles, so the vehicles are delivered with number plates on them. Vehicle are delivered to the buyer. The buyer takes it and he drives off. And there's a time frame where before the registration in the new owner's name take place, so that SANRAL, that e-tail account comes to the dealer. So their e-tail account sitting on about R1 million, and we're talking of 7,500 vehicles that's involved in that. So I contacted SANRAL and asked them to send me a full list of all the registration numbers involved, and I need that list invoiced per registration number. It's been 5 weeks and they haven't sent that to me. I'm talking of one client, Isak. There are about 10,000 motor dealers in Johannesburg and Pretoria alone, not even talking about the rest of Johannesburg, East Rand and West Rand. So there is no ways that they are going to be able to administer this and issue a infringement notice for each and every gantry that any single person has passed, not even talking about all the companies and the 4 million vehicles that use the gantry on a daily basis.
Willem, does this make SANRAL toothless?
Not at all. Not at all. In terms of the current e-toll Act, SANRAL has the right, although that's been suspended 2 years ago temporarily, that they can issue a court order. They can summons you and say, you haven't paid the e-toll account, we are suing you for this arrears amount. And if judgment is handed down by the magistrate or the judge, depending on whether it's a high court case or a magistrate court case, you are liable to pay that amount. So, if you don't pay your e-toll account as an individual person in the last 7 years, you probably may have racked up 100,000 Rand. So if they start to incur interest and all of that on that amount of money, you may end up owing SANRAL a lot of money. That's the one thing. And the second thing is, if they do get appointment as an issuing authority, once the new Auto Act comes into effect, their teeth became a lot sharper and a lot bigger. Because once they issue an infringement notice and you don't follow procedure as it is written in the Act, get the infringement notice withdrawn. So do a representation. If that's unsuccessful, you need to go to the and I forget the name of the team. There will be a team of 7 people that will handle the next level of representation, and only then can you go to court. In terms of the new regulation that was published. But let's say they issue a enforcement order and your license is blocked. I know a lot of people say then we're going to drive around without licenses on our vehicles. We're going to drive around without driving license cards. You open yourself up for bigger issues, because if you drive around without a vehicle license disc or a valid disc on your vehicle, insurance may repudiate any claims that you have. Now, I know that it's not as simple as no, we're not going to pay. There are certain merits that the insurance company will look at, but it may happen. If in terms of the auto regulations that were published, that's coming into effect 1 July, if you drive without a valid driving license card and you cannot prove that you have applied for it, you may be arrested for a criminal offense. The same thing happens with a vehicle license disc. Because with a new demerit point system, if your license is suspended, you need to go and hand in your license. So I may have an old card, and I had handed in my new license. So I suspect they're going to be very strict on that. So 100% ISOC SANRAL is not toothless in this matter. But for now, what they've written is actually scare tactics, as I said earlier. Currently, the act is not, the regulations are not enforced. It will only be enforced from 1 July if the implementation happens as envisaged.